everyone. This is Mudita Bansal from TCS, Tata Consultancy Services, ION team. I will be your host for the session today, and we are talking about a day in the life of a sales professional with Mr. Vikash Bakriwala. Sales is a rewarding and a challenging career. Creating the most appropriate solution for your customer and then giving them the tools and motivation to buy from you needs detective skills, teamwork, and an understanding of human nature. Not to mention a lot of grit and determination as well. Sales is a performance-based career. The more you sell, the more bonus you earn. Good to know, right? For anyone with a competitive streak or the desire to be rewarded for their hard work, this is a key motivator and something that will drive a successful career for years. But it is not all sweetness and light. Every sales professional must learn to deal with daily rejections from customers. And there are only a few salespeople who will tell you that their job is easy. Long hours and the pressures of deadlines and targets are not for everyone. As a salesperson, you are a consultant, a psychologist, a team builder, and a customer service representative all in one. You will draw on your expert product and industry knowledge, your colleagues, contacts, and influencers to make the best deals for your clients. Understanding your customers' strategic goals, their market, the financial and economical influences is endlessly fascinating. Depending on your career path, you can work in an office competing against your colleagues or out on the road working closely with your customers on site. For those who love competition, who value rewards for their efforts, and want a role that recognizes success, a career in sales waits you. To talk more on this, it is my pleasure to invite our guest today, Mr. Vikash Bakriwala. Welcome, Vikash.
Thanks, Mudita, and thanks, Prabir. It's a pleasure talking to you. I think we've been trying to set this up for a while, so finally we got it. So that's how life in sales is, you have to juggle between a lot of things to get to a point you have to prioritize right. So I think got done with a big chunk of work that I was looking at. So now I think we found time to finally do it.
Great. Thank you so much for doing that, Vikash. So I'll give a quick introduction to the audience about you.
Sure.
Vikash Bakriwala is a chief DAZN at Group Bell, which has a very popular brand by the name of The Laughing Cow across the globe. Vikash is amongst the prestigious cohort of Forbes India 30 Under 30 in 2020. His work as the youngest sales leader at B9 Beverages, the makers of Bira and Boom beers, helping them to expand and establish a strong footprint in South India in a year's time. He's an experienced management professional with a demonstrated performance track across sales, distribution, and marketing in alcohol beverages, FMCG, and telecom space. He has a deep passion for building and scaling with a strong flair of consumer goods and sales. Vikash holds a master's degree from EM Strasbourg, France, and PGDM from IIM Kozhikode. After finishing his internship at Britannia Industries in 2015, Vikash joined Vodafone as their management trainee, fresh out of his B school. After a brief stint at the telecom service provider, he joined B9 Beverages and worked in establishing a team to build the brand's presence from Bangalore to 5 geographical clusters in 3 states: North Karnataka, Coastal Karnataka, South Karnataka, Puducherry, and Kerala within an year. What gives Vikash a kick is connecting with people and the right pitch. And what would be his success mantra? The answer is an unambiguous team. With this interesting thought, I now invite Vikash to share with us his journey of becoming a successful sales leader. Over to you, Vikash.
Thanks. So I think I'll go back to my school days where it all started. So I come from a business family. So I'm a Marwadi. So typically business runs in the blood. So somehow being good in academics, sports, all of it, I landed up into engineering. So I was very good in academics, mathematics especially. So always used to be a 90 plus student. So that's how I accidentally landed into engineering. And that's when I realized probably this is the only good part about this is that I'm meeting a lot of people. So I was in a place which is very cosmopolitan. So I had people from across the world. So I was in Manipal. So I had people from Delhi, so Bombay, Canada, Punjab. So it was a very interesting experience. And I think now when I look at it, it's been what 12 years, and what stays with me is the connections that I made, the people that I met, and I wouldn't hesitate to say that I don't remember much that I studied. So yeah, so that's how I took it up at my college there in Manipal, and then again, following the normal course of life, I ended becoming a software engineer at TCS. So I think again that was something which I really didn't want to do, but life has its own way. So I took it up as a challenge. I said, let's try this out. I'm not a techie, I don't know coding, but let's try it how it works. So what really went well again was that uh, I got the opportunity to shift to another geography with another set of people. So now I was back to the east in Calcutta, a place which I despise like from the bottom of my heart, just for the fact that it's second home. So you don't want to come back home. Once you've left, you want to explore while you're young. So came back there. It was a very different experience. I think what stands out is not the work, but the kind of team that I got to work with. So we just kicked off a project, and probably that kicked off the career also. So there was a project which had just come in from Hong Kong. So it was a banking project. Again, clueless about banking, software, everything. But again, it had some aspect of team management. I think what parallelly kept me going was the intent to, go to a good B school. Uh, Again, that was a lot of hard work. So if I have to really go back to see my schedule, I used to wake up at 4, prepare till about 8 in the morning, and then go for a jog, and then hit office by 9:30, and then work the entire day. And then so I think this went on till about 8 months. Then that's when I finally cracked I'm Corey Code, and then the journey towards management and sales began. I mean, I would say professionally. Yeah, so it's been good that far. These were the foundation steps. So I think what really stayed with me was hard work and the will to do it. So there was a pitfall. So my first pitfall was when I went to engineering. I knew I didn't want to do it. Like I said, again going to TCS, didn't want to do it. But you kind of get used to it, and you want to do something else, and you have to prepare for the next. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But of course, you can't leave things at the way it is. You can't be a grumpy person. So I think I took it the hard way. I made sure that I didn't stop trying on things, and I knew where I want to be. So I think that helped me through the entire phase. I would say education to transition as a professional to choosing what you really want to do in life. Yeah, it's been good that way. So why I say this, because a lot of people would be in the similar space right now, doing the engineering or aspiring to be an engineer. I think it's very important to know what you like, because a lot of times you're left with choices that you wouldn't make. So you don't want to be in that space, because then it's a punishment. It's a punishment for a very long period of time. So it's very important that you explore what you want to do, and sports helps you do that. So education helps you do that. So while I think a decade back things were very different, I think the generation now really sees it very differently, and it's good. I would say you should be very very clear on at least knowing what you don't want to do rather than you want to do, because that helps you narrow down your choices. So while I had a long run where I took about 1 degree and a job to figure out what I really wanted to do or get into the space I wanted to, I think it's much easier for people now or the kids now.
Excellent thought, Vikas, that you should know what you do not want to do so that you narrow down your choices. Definitely. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of takeaway from that short talk that you've given about your experiences. So we'll quickly jump to the questions that I have for you, Vikas. How does a day at work look like for a sales professional? Tell us something about the day in and day out job activities of a sales professional.
Sure. So again, I mean, you can't really classify the day of a sales guy. It would be varying across positions and the roles that you take up. But yeah, a smart sales guy, I would say somebody who's doing well in his career, would typically allocate his time, I would say 50% to execution. That would be the day-to-day activity. That might be engaging with the team, with the stakeholders, with the partners, internal, external. So that would be 50%, I would say, daily execution, where you kind of work on getting results, and the remaining balance 50% would be planning. So the plan can be a short-term plan, as short as the next day or the next week, to a midterm, which might be the next coming quarter, etc. So I think a good balance is a 50-50, where you plan 50% and you execute 50%. Why I say that is because as you go up the ladder in sales, that execution is going to reduce. So you have to get the hang of planning well, and that too at a daily basis. So you don't want your team to wake up in the morning and not know what is to be done because the boss has not told you, or probably is not giving you the clear line of sight that this week should look like this, and this is what you have to do to get where you want to. I think that's important, and of course, I mean, if you look at the life of a sales guy, it's full of phone calls, it's full of emails, it's full of conversation, it's a lot of trying each day, internally, externally. So it's fun. I mean, you have one bad day and you don't give up. A sales guy doesn't give up. He still tries the other day. So yeah, I think that's how a typical day looks like.
Excellent. So yeah, not giving up is definitely key to sales.
Yeah.
So do you think that every industry offers different types of sales roles and career paths? And which are the top 3 industries that you would pick that offer the best of opportunities?
So I would say no two apples are the same while they're apples. So no two sales role or no two companies will be offering the same roles. So you can take any space that you want to, and it can be a consumer space, it can be a B2B space, it can be a direct sales space. So a very good example I can talk about, which I recently encountered, is the education space, which is booming in India. So they've come up with something which is called direct to home sales. So I mean, they have a certain term which I'm not able to recall right now. I think sales is evolving every day. Every organization, every space has a different way to look at it. Of course, it's a big problem solver. It's a revenue-driven function. So you're always bringing in money rather than spending it all the time. So yeah, it varies a lot. So from one, so even at the same, if I have to say, since compensation matters a lot in India, I would say even at the same compensation, you would see a variety of roles, a variety of designations, a variety of function in sales that exist across the bandwidth of companies that you see, not just in India, globally. I would say it is safe to say that every month you would have a new kind of a sales role coming.
So just for the audience that we have, the student audience that we have who are listening to us, what would you will you be able to tell them what are the different roles at different stages of career? You just spoke about, being a team member to vertically moving up the ladder, becoming a manager, a boss. But what are these different roles, even at a horizontal level, at the same level, being a team member, are there different roles or the next level?
Sure. So I'll answer your question on the choices of industry. So before I go to that, so I would say there are 3 spaces which I find very exciting. There's a 4th space which is growing, which in my books. So the first would of course be FMCG, which is very food and beverage driven. So I think that's something which is very evolving. The Indian consumer has a very good palate. So I think that's a space which will always be exciting. The second is alcohol. Again, India is on the world map for alcohol. The consumers are evolving. The society started to look at it in a different way. So a very exciting time for the next, I would say, 2-3 decades for both these spaces. And the third would be retail. Again, retail is going through a lot of changes. I think you see a lot of modern retail coming up. So typically smaller shops upgrading, so choices changing. So I think India is becoming a lifestyle country now. So these 3 spaces are where you should be doing sales if you want to really enjoy your journey. So now coming back to the question on the different roles, I think you start pretty small. So a sales guy should first be knowing what happens. I mean, at the last mile. So typically you start off at the lowest point. If you start off as a student or maybe as a part of a program which helps you move through your journey, which is established management training program, for instance, then you start off at a role which is maybe a sales officer. You do a 6 months, 3-month program there and understand how the team works on ground, and then keep moving up. If I have to look at a B2B space, then you would be probably doing enterprise sales, being a client manager. or a client associate. And I think if you have to do direct sales, maybe with something like a edtech startup, I would not name any, but there are lots in the market. So you would probably start off doing door-to-door sales. While this sounds pretty sad, I think it's the best part of your sales career, because that's when you don't have any pressure. Just going out, meeting, understanding the psyche of people, and your deliverables are pretty mind-blowing. So, yeah. And I also have heard of something very popular in the retail segment, that people start off as store managers doing store sales. So I think, yeah, you have to start small, not for the fact that the role is small, but it helps you understand the basics, or I think, the fundamentals of how consumers buy, think, and interact when you are in sales.
And
And of
probably the
course, then
pain
others.
points. And probably the pain
Yeah, I would
points
say.
that
Yeah.
need to be touched upon, maybe.
So, yeah. So more than pain point, I think what you really kind of figure is how do you behave to get the sales going. So of course there'll be a lot of objections when anybody is coming out to buy something, but you would kind of bypass the pain and know how you're supposed to present yourself to get it. So.
So you just spoke about the B2B and B2C scenario. How is it different in both the scenarios from a layman perspective?
Sure. So I think B2B and B2C, while it's all sales, I think they're very different. They're two different words. So why I say is that because you can't make mistakes when you're doing a B2B, because the stakes are larger. So if you're trying to sell into a organization or a business, there's a lot on the plate. So he's putting a lot from his pocket into your pocket. So your pockets have to be deep enough, or your hands have to be well crafted to bring it in. While if you look at consumer sales, you get a lot of opportunity. You miss one consumer, you can probably go back to the second, because the kind of stake that you're looking at is smaller. So you're selling a smaller ticket item. So the opportunity to fail and recover is much more in a B2C kind of a scenario. However, both are important. You can't go wrong either places.
Oh, very interesting. So I was reading an article wherein it was mentioned that sales is all about what you have done for me lately. And regardless of how successful you are in any prescribed period, you generally have to start back from zero with every new month, new quarter, every new year. Is that right? And how these factors drive the performance pressures?
I think what you said is right in a lot of ways, but if I have to look at it, it gives you a fresh chance, a new period to begin your whatever process you're following, or correct things. I think we look at life also the same way. It's just New Year's, so we again want to restart. So that's how sales also is. So it gives you the opportunity to restart. Put everything behind, and then just reassess what you've done right, what you've done wrong, restart. Of course, there's a pressure, but then it comes with a gift that you can restart. So, yeah, it is true that every period is critical, but you don't lose the legacy of success or failure. So, let's say you didn't perform, or you performed exceptionally well. That legacy is going to help you individually also, and also in the role that you're doing. The organization is going to look at you the same way, that this guy is a performer. They know it's going to be better, or things are going to improve, or this is the person I can bank on. And if there's let's say a possibility of failure, again that also throws a context that either we have to support this person to come up to speed, or maybe look at him differently. So
very interesting. So you always look at the positive side, is what I can see. I can sense from your talk, Vikas. So is it correct to say that sales is a soft skills kind of a job? You master the skills that are transferable and applicable to any role you may take in the future. And is it as close as any professional will get to running their own business and becoming an entrepreneur?
So I would say it is a lot of soft skills. It's like learning a foreign language where you're in a foreign country. So you can only do it if you have the flair. You can't come back and teach it to your peers or your friends unless they go through the same experience. You can't teach them a language that you picked up, right? Unless they go through a formal course. So it's very similar. It can happen only if you want to. And it happens with practice, of course. The skills, I would say, are transferable, not from a person to person, but yeah, from a role to role. So a sales guy, I believe, can do whatever he wishes to. So because he's learned the basic flair. I mean, human psychology is the most important thing that you deal with. Everything is layer two, right? So a sales guy definitely not just comes closer to running a business, but I think he comes close to running a lot of things. Maybe a circle of friends, maybe even the office, the social life of office people. So yeah, it is transferable, but yeah, from one role to the other, it might be informal, it might be formal.
And the second part of the question was whether how close is it to come to run your own business? That you just said that you've anyway come out from a business family, and this is quite similar. So maybe you can just elaborate a bit on that.
Yeah, sure. So I think again it depends on what point or of the organization that you join in. If you start off at a point where you're building processes, etc., you're definitely very close to setting up a business. And let's say you take it up to a certain level with with time, you would see a lot of people coming in and doing a lot of things that you said right. So you set up processes for. So probably at that point, that person might not feel it's being closer to business. Of course, if somebody has to look at the ownership, it's that person's view. And I would say that yes, it is the closest to being in business, because in business you kind of go out with your stakes, win and come back. Similarly, every sales guy has the same opportunity. He's doing it for he's doing it for his credibility. It's a daily basis, daily role. So you kind of go out, farm, and win every day. So yeah, that ownership sits with you. So you can, and most of the times feel like that you own it. And you will see a lot of possessive trait in salespeople. So when they go out, when you go out to the client, this is my client, this is my area, this is my city. So yeah, that's how it looks. That the whole fact that people are possessive about whatever they're doing kind of shows that they look at it as if they own the business.
Yeah, shows up the passion. Sure.
Yeah.
A few questions from the perspective of the students who want to get into it, or who want to decide, whether to get into this stream or not. How well paid are the jobs in sales compared to other management jobs?
Sure. So I would say now there's a popular saying which I can recall right now. So the highest paid jobs are for the shittiest thing you can do, right? So that's how it works. So you look at any stream that way. But keeping the joke apart, I think sales jobs are the best paid jobs, and they will always be in demand. So it's a career which you can always expect to grow in, to learn, and not get bored in life. And compensation, of course, comes with work. So if you work at a pace which is faster than your peers, you will grow faster. So compensation, I think, is never a problem with sales guys. Besides, you will never be out of a job. I mean, to put it very clear. So I think that's the biggest compensation, that people will always want to have you. You can sell.
Cool. So how has the sales pitching process changed over these years, and how do you see the employment opportunities at this point in India with this change?
I think the pitches have not changed too much. I think the forms have changed. The pitches remain the same. You kind of sell your product. First you talk about your product, maybe then you show the financial part, and then you show how the customer gains from it. So that remains, the structure remains the same. It's just the formats have changed. Probably from a lot of face-to-face, you start moving out to phone calls, emails. I think that's not great because sometimes it just kills the effect of the person. So while it's getting accepted, a lot of people don't want to be bothered, or like it to be a little more formal. So yeah, that's changed, but the sales process or the content has not changed, I would say. And if I have to talk about opportunity, I think while all of us are working from home, it's the sales guys who are out in the market, or out meeting the customers just to keep everybody going. So I think the opportunities, come what may, will never change, and India is a growing market. So you'll always see people, being influential in the field of sales. It's a great career to be in. And I think one very interesting bit is that you can always find people from sales going to marketing, or let's say general management. But it's very difficult for a marketing guy to come back and do sales. So I think anybody who's looking at a sales career should do it pretty early in life, because that's the best time. I mean, that's your foundation, right? And if you like it beyond a point, you can do it all your life. Otherwise, you can, slow it down.
So, coming to the requirements to get into sales, Vikash, what kind of degree or qualification is needed to enter the profession? And how early should a person decide in their education or career decisions about when to enter and how
Sure.
to enter?
Sure. So I would say there's no right time to enter sales. It can be at any point in time. I had mentioned earlier that the sooner you decide what you want to do, maybe if you don't like accounting, if you don't like maths, if you don't like, I would say, engineering, physics, coding, etc., then you'll probably end up choosing sales. So that whatever point in life you can do that, that's when you made your decision to enter sales. As about education, I think if you look at the entire sales chart across organization, you'll find people who are, maybe probably undergrads or just finished their school or primary education, secondary education, and then you'll find people who've done their, certificates or education from Stanford, Harvard. So yeah, it's always an added advantage to have a good education. But I think good experience can help you bypass that. And if you can scale up yourself, your skills, your soft skills rather, through time, I think that should save you through. But that doesn't mean education does not matter. It definitely helps you skip a lot of levels.
That's right. Yeah. So you reach a certain point earlier, much earlier than if you do not have that education. Are there any additional trainings or reading materials that the students should refer to before they start their sales journey? Anything that you recommend?
I think it's nothing which can be mandated. If let's say you want to enter a particular space and do sales, I would recommend you should first know about the space. Always get an advantage and edge by finding stuff on the internet, reading it up, looking it up. Look at successful companies in the space. You kind of get a history of what's worked for them. So that will definitely help you know where you stand. I would not say there's a mandated thing. I can give you a good example. While at Bira, we were there selling beer. So we all underwent a training which is called the Cicerone training, or it's a specialization for beer servers, where you know your beer, you know what you're serving, etc., and how it's to be poured, etc. So it all helps. It makes selling easy. Of course, you won't be serving beer to anybody, but of course, when you strike a conversation, these things make life easy. It gives you a lot of confidence about things, because the customer doesn't know beyond a certain point. Of course, you should always be equipped with a lot of knowledge, which might be mandated, not mandated.
Yeah, so be your first customer is what you're trying to say, isn't it?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Yeah. So excellent views. Any in the end, I mean, any career advice that you would like to give to the audience, the budding salespersons that we have listening to you?
I think sales is a very different and a very likable space to be in. I know people who choose sales to move into marketing. That's a good thought, because it helps you strengthen your fundamentals. But I think what I really feel, like I've mentioned, is that sales as a career outlives every other career. So I think if you choose to do it, you should do it well, and it's pretty rewarding. So make your choices early, and get down to sales if you want to.
It's been the most candid conversation we've had on the channel, Vikash. Thank you so much for such an engaging and insightful talk. I'm sure this will help the young bright minds out there to start a very prosperous career in sales. So to our viewers, I would like to say that sales has changed. The world of selling now requires a completely different mentality and skill set. It is no longer about persuading people into buying something they do not need, do not want, or can't afford. It is more about being a credible and trustworthy source of information for when a buyer is looking for your product or service. It is about being there as a trusted advisor to help guide them through the buying process. So if you're looking for a flexible work environment, high earning potential, a way to challenge yourself, and continuously developing your skills and grow your professional capabilities, a career in sales is worth exploring. With this, I would like to thank our guest today, Mr. Vikash Bakriwala. It is an honor that we had you here, Vikash. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mudita.